Did you talk to Brooke at that time frame?
I was in the driver's seat, and she opened up the door, and we was just chit-chatting that way.
Was that a brief conversation with her?
Yes, ma'am.
When you left Brooks, where were you going?
To Stacy Pascal's house.
As you're driving, what are you thinking about, if you remember?
Getting to Stacy's house and being there on time, because she had asked me to be there so she could leave by 8:15 before the boys got up.
Was she trying to avoid having to deal with her sons that morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection, Judge. Speculative.
Sustained.
If the boys were awake when Stacy left, would it usually take her longer to get out the door?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So as you're driving, you told us a little bit about what you were thinking. Did you think about making any stops?
Yes, ma'am. I was going to pull through Burger King and get breakfast for the twins and their oldest sister.
At that point, would you have been looking for breakfast for Ariya from the Burger King?
No, ma'am, because she was still drinking a bottle.
Okay. Was she also eating baby food of some sort at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But nothing table food?
No, ma'am.
So did you actually stop at the Burger King?
I was stopped at the red light right there at the crossing, and noticed that there was a long line at Burger King, and I knew that I would not be able to get through the line and be at work on time.
So what did you do?
So I just bypassed Burger King and went to Stacy's house.
Okay. And where is Stacy's house located?
I call it McClenny 2. I don't know the address.
Okay. So basically, you enter into McClenny 2 near just past the Burger King, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What happened when you got to Stacy's?
I got there and I grabbed my water bottle, my cup, and I had my lunch in the little tray right there where the cup holder is, and I grabbed it. My phone was right there as well, and I grabbed it, got out of the car to get to the inside before 8:15 so she could leave. She didn't want to leave while the kids were, she didn't want them up. She wanted them asleep so she could get out and she wouldn't be late. And that's what I was thinking, is get there on time before they got up.
When you got out of the car, Rhonda, did you get Ariya out of the car?
No, ma'am, I forgot I had her.
When you went inside, did you talk to Stacy?
For a brief minute.
Do you remember what you guys talked about?
Just one of the boys had fell the night before, and she was worried that it had bruised, and she wanted me to take a picture and send it to her. And we had talked about my doctor's appointment the next day, and was it.
As you're talking about the doctor's appointment the next day, are you talking with Stacy about the fact that you can't work the next day?
Yes, ma'am.
Leaving, Your Honor. Objection.
Sustained.
Had you had a conversation with Stacy about your unavailability on Thursday?
Yes, ma'am.
And why were you not going to be available?
Because I have.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
How is that relevant?
Your Honor, it goes to the schedule changes and the things that Ms. Jewell is dealing with in the moment of what's going on.
Okay, I'll overrule the objection.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Had you, I think the last question was, why was your schedule changing?
On Thursday, I was supposed to work for Stacy, but I had told her that I needed to go to the chiropractor, which I normally went to in McClenny. They didn't have any availability, so I called the one in Jacksonville and Oakleaf, and their first availability was at 10. So I told her I could come afterwards if she needed me to, and she said no, that it was okay. Her mother was coming to take care of the kids.
Were you physically in pain at that point?
I hurt, yes, ma'am, but I mean, it wasn't nothing that.
Did that pain interfere with your ability to take care of the children?
Oh no, ma'am. I just needed to be. I call it manipulated. My hip and shoulder was bothering me.
And just to be clear, you didn't usually keep Ariya on Thursday.
No, ma'am.
Okay. After you were scheduled to be off of work on Thursday, had you worked, did you have any other plans?
We were supposed to leave on vacation that Thursday afternoon.
So backing up to this July 19th date, you have gone to Stacy's house. You've walked inside and had this conversation with her. How long would you say you talked to Stacy before she left?
Give or take 2, 3, 4 minutes.
And did Stacy actually leave to go to work?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do then?
I had texted Brooke and told Brooke that Stacy had just left to go to work.
And the text message, I believe, said,
Just left.
shocker, just left, shocker. What did you mean by that?
Because Stacy would ask me to come to work, sometimes be there at 8:15. She wouldn't leave till 8:30. She would say she was on her way home, or I'll be home at 4:30. She wouldn't be there till 5. So that was a little, that's what that was about.
And you and Brooke had discussed those particular issues in the past.
Yes, ma'am.
So you texted Brooke that Stacy had left, and at that point, were the boys up, the twins?
They weren't up. They were up, I would say, within 2 to 3 minutes of me being there.
Okay, so within 2 to 3 minutes of you getting there and getting settled, the boys got up?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you guys do then?
One of them got up and noticed that I was there, and of course, rah-rah, and he said, "Will you rub my back?" So I sat on the couch and I rubbed his back, and a few minutes later, the other one got up, and I would sit on the couch and I would rub their backs, and just engaging with them, and they were very loving children, so they wanted to engage.
Shortly after that, would you have prepared them breakfast that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you actually give them breakfast that day?
Yes, ma'am.
As the day goes along, what are you guys doing?
They have a little magnetic kind of toy that you can put together, it's like a puzzle type thing, but it's magnetic. And we'd sit on the floor and play with it, do a puzzle on the table, go to the toy room and play.
Were there ever times that you were on your phone with the children?
Yes, ma'am. We would watch TikTok together, just funny kids TikToks, stuff like that.
Fast forward to around 1 o'clock, 1:15. Do you recall Brooke arriving at the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell us what you were doing before you became aware that Miss Brooke Paige was at the house? Immediately before.
I was preparing lunch for the kids.
Where would you have been doing that?
In the kitchen.
And as you were preparing lunch for the children, where are they?
They're in the kitchen with me as well.
And what are you guys doing as you're cooking lunch?
We were singing, and then one wanted a hot dog, and one wanted French fries, and one wanted, strawberries, and one wanted grapes, and one wanted a juice. And so they were very hands-on, but different and rambunctious. So I was preparing all of their meals. So I had French fries on the stove frying, and I had a hot dog in the microwave, and, trying to get all of that juice made for them. And
Was all of that going on whenever you received the phone call from Brooke?
yes, ma'am.
Prior to receiving the phone call from Brooke Paige, had you heard anyone knocking on the door?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Did you hear the doorbell at all?
Ma'am?
Did you hear the doorbell at all?
No, ma'am.
Whenever Brooke Paige called you, can you describe for us what happened?
She said, "Hey," and I said, "Hey," and she said, where? She said, "I'm here," and I said, "Here?" I said, "Where are you at?" And she said, "I'm at the door," and I said, "Oh," And
Did you go to the door at that time?
I did, but I didn't know why she was there. So I was like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm here." And so I asked her where she was at. And she said, "I'm at the door."